All right, welcome everybody. I'm going to call this meeting to order. This is a meeting of the Town of Fairfield Bike and Pedestrian Committee. It is Thursday, May 19th. It is 6:02 p.m. and we're going to get started. I'm going to do a roll call of committee members. Mike Allen is absent. Scott Craighead.
I'm here, present.
Present. Steve Nyadek. Mary Streeto.
Here.
Tom Keene.
Here.
Sarah Roy is also here, and also present with us is Santina Duranco from the Health Department and Megan Sloane from MetroCog, and we could have others trickling in as we go along. So, I'd like to start the meeting by doing a vote on the April minutes. I want to, before we take a motion, thank Scott Craighead for doing an excellent thorough job on our minutes for last month. Very much appreciate that. Could I have a motion to approve the April minutes as submitted? All right, Tom made the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Steve is seconding.
Either. Okay, yep.
All right, all in favor of approving the April minutes as submitted?
Aye.
All right, so motion carries. All right, now, before we go any further with the minutes, we have to figure out who's going to do the minutes for June. And then we'll do introductions. Megan, as our guest, do you want to pick a name?
No. I don't want to be.
Okay.
It's fair that those who have not done it, their name goes in there?
If you have already done it this year, we'll pick again.
Sorry?
If you have already done it this year and your name comes up now, we'll pick again.
Got it.
All right? Scott, you want to pick?
Okay, that's what I was asking.
Yeah.
Okay. You pick yourself one. Yep.
You might have picked yourself.
I did not pick myself.
Who did you pick?
I chose Nate.
Nate. All right. Nate's going to do it in June. He hasn't had a turn yet.
No,
so Nate is June.
That's fair.
That is very fair.
Uh-huh.
All right. You didn't want to be the bad guy, Megan. I don't blame you. All right. So we're going to do introductions. And Megan, all these guys are familiar with how I like to do introductions. I like everyone to say their name, and we do an icebreaker. And this month's icebreaker is, have you ever met anyone famous, and if so, who? So we'll start on this side of the room. Scott, if you would go ahead.
Sure. I've met a few people. I guess the first person that came to mind is because of what we just said, saw Steve here with the Who.
Oh.
I met Mick Jagger. Wow.
Wow.
The Rolling Stones. I'm going to tell you when also, 1976 to be exact, if anybody's still around then.
I was born that year.
16, 17, I know most people, you weren't born, you were born, you weren't born. Oh, thanks. I met him in Darien, Connecticut, where I was working as a guy in charge of maintenance at a horse show. And somebody said, hey, did you see that guy pull up in the black limousine? So basically took the little golf cart and drove around, and there was this guy who, at that time, he was like 5'7", 5'8", so not a tall guy. And I talked to him, he had a heck of a Cockney accent. I could barely understand him. And so I said, hey, do you want a beer? Of course. So I scurried off, and so I got a beer at 16, 17, brought it back, we had a beer together.
Wow.
Cool.
Good story.
Yeah, Mick Jagger.
So
Everybody tells the same story when he's at.
Yeah. That's right. So Santina, we'll do you next.
I am Santina Duranco. I'm Assistant Director of Health for the Fairfield Health Department. The famous person that we're actually very good friends with, Jose Feliciano, who sings Feliz Navidad. He actually sang at my wedding.
Oh, wow.
Our best man and maid of honor like to say that they opened for Jose Feliciano.
Of course.
They did their speeches and then he sang.
That's great.
Awesome.
Yeah. Great.
Steve, go ahead.
I think I've met anybody really famous. No, I have one kind of interesting one. Captain Phillips. Remember the movie Captain Phillips? Yeah, I met him. The real life.
Oh, the real one?
Life Captain Phillips. Yeah. He's
Oh,
a very
cool.
cool guy. Yeah, we talked to him quite a bit, but I guess something.
That's really cool.
All right.
Yeah. Some Hanks played him.
Yeah.
A lot of athletes.
What was the name of that movie? Was it the Captain? No.
What the hell was the name of that movie?
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Might be called.
Set in Somalia, wasn't it Somalia?
Yeah.
No, that's where it had.
I think it was called like Captain Phillips.
It might have been Captain Phillips.
Yeah.
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 All right, Mary?
I've met a few, but I guess my most memorable only is probably Melissa Etheridge.
Cool.
I cried like a little baby. I met her like years ago. Oh.
At a concert, or?
I totally did. I broke down. Yes,
That's
in
awesome.
Durham. She played at the Durham Fair.
Oh,
and
awesome.
we knew where her bus was, so we went back there and stalked her, along with a lot of others. But she was really cool. We couldn't take any pictures. They didn't want
Yeah.
to, but at least I got her autograph. And I talked to her for a moment or two.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks. Tom?
Man, this is like never follow, a kid act. I got nobody.
Nobody?
Politicians, who cares?
Sure.
Actually, this was big current events at the time, and actually it comes back once in a while. Back before the Good Friday Agreement, when there was a whole big controversy about letting, from Northern Ireland, let Jerry Adams come in, and Bill Clinton allowed it, and there was a whole big thing at, I think it was the Sheraton in the city. He was going to come and speak and everything. So my brother and I went, and we saw there's a big, huge crowd in the lobby. You couldn't get near the elevators. So all of a sudden, we were sort of pushed off to the side, and a freight elevator opened, and in came him and his entourage and all security. So we got on with them.
Oh, wow.
Hey, don't that was about it.
Great.
But, so we were the crux of international politics.
Thanks for sharing.
Mhm.
Megan?
I've got a lot of competition, but once I met, Sean Puffy Combs' lawyer.
Sister's brother.
Yeah, but it was at an Italian restaurant in the Bronx, and, my godfather, he's since passed, he's like, oh, I know this guy, he's Puff Daddy's attorney, and we all figured he was probably very wealthy.
Wow.
Cool, thank you. All right, so we'll do Bill and then John. Bill, so
There are a lot, but they're all like 60 seconds or less.
who's the best one that
The
you've?
best one, first, being a sports fan, is a toss-up between Hank Aaron and Captain Lou. I went bowling actually with Captain Lou, so I guess that was a little bit
Who's
long.
Captain Lou?
Captain Lou is a wrestler from way back.
They're on rubber bands with the
For
beard.
video,
Oh.
yeah.
He's
Yep.
put
Yeah.
things on his face.
Yep.
Fans.
Oh,
And then, and I met Hank Aaron, so that was pretty nice.
Over on King.
Yep.
Yeah, very cool.
Since we only have one member of the public here, John, would you like to say who you are and the most famous person you've ever met?
Sure. So, my name is John Duramanek. I live right across the town line in Black Rock. So, it is what you guys are doing here. But I think the most famous person I've met is the new press secretary at the White House, because she used to work at Citizens Campaign for the Environment, where I used to work, and I met her at our gala.
Oh, cool.
Before she was like the press secretary.
You knew her when?
Now, technically.
She just started on Monday, Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
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 Sorry.
Do you know what her name was? Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But she was a phone canvasser at our organization, my old organization, yeah.
Thanks, John. So,
Sure.
we'll get on with, I'm Sarah Roy, and I couldn't decide between two stories. One is I was obsessed with The Biggest Loser, like in the early 2000s, and I met one of the contestants in the airport once. But then I also was like, oh yeah, I have a picture. The most famous person I've ever met is actually, one of the perks of living in New Hampshire for 11 years is it's, first in the nation, and a lot of politicians come through, and I got to meet Hillary Clinton.
Wow, very nice.
That's great.
Yeah, that's me and my friend Angela. So
Yeah.
I got to talk to her for like 3 seconds, but yeah, I've got my glamour shot.
I do like how you're like, it's a toss-up between.
Yeah.
Or Hillary Clinton.
It was way more fun to talk to the guy from The Biggest Loser, but yeah, but I did meet her. All right, well, thanks for indulging me. And we are going to get on with our agenda. And actually, Nate, are you there? No? Okay, just want to make sure he's not on the line. So, our special guest tonight is Megan Sloane. She's the planning director for the Connecticut Metropolitan Council of Governments. And I've asked Megan to come here tonight because they play an important role in a lot of infrastructure planning and projects throughout Fairfield and our region. And so I'm just going to let you talk, Megan, about like what you guys do and how we might, overline and collaborate and all that.
Okay, first, is everybody aware of the Council of Governments structure in Connecticut?
No.
Okay, so, in Connecticut, there's 9 councils of governments. We're the smallest one. We're made up of Bridgeport, Easton, Fairfield, Monroe, Stratford, and Trumbull. But I like to think that that gives us, more time to spend with our towns and to, assist people with, more individualized projects. And we are also the Metropolitan Planning Organization for this region with 4 towns in the valley. And that means that we're the federally designated recipient of transportation planning funds. So we're required to, provide certain products, every few years, to meet those federal requirements. And one is gonna be due next year, which I'll talk a little bit about more. Our board is made up of the chief of elected officials of, all our member towns. So we have monthly meetings. And then, of course, the MPO is made up of the chief elected officials of, those 6 towns, as well as 4 valley towns, and the chairs of the transit districts. So that will be Greater Bridgeport Transit and Valley Transit District. So we, like I was kind of explaining before, the role of councils of governments, kind of varies across the state. We try to stay flexible just so we can, respond to what our towns need us to do. Sometimes we take some workload with one-off grants that come up, different, planning projects that may come up that may not be a part of, typical town staff responsibilities. 1 or 2 examples that are in Fairfield would be the Black Rock Turnpike safety study, which we closed up a few years ago, and then the Post Road Circle study, which we're working on finalizing the report. Hopefully it'll be finalized, for a few years, in a few months. And I'm not sure if anyone's familiar with story maps, but I put together kind of an interactive website that people can play around with and compare different concepts and everything.
Oh, for BlackRock?
For Post Road.
Post Road, yeah.
Yeah, so I think what's important to no problem, emphasize about the planning process is that we don't really have any, final products in mind. Of course, there's what can be feasible, but we always try to emphasize that, recommendations need to be informed by, engineering feasibility, financials, but of course, what's amenable to the public and, what people who live in the area want, because they're gonna be the ones who deal with it most of the time, like you probably all know, dealing with, the Post Road Circle.
Yeah.
So just as an example, out of that study, we emphasized to the consulting firm working on that we needed that, something innovative, maybe higher cost is fine, but at the same time, they needed to provide us with, something more conventional that was lower cost. So out of that came, a suggestion for a roundabout that was seen as feasible, and then also, a more conventional signalized intersection.
Has one of those 2 options been chosen?
No. So choosing is gonna be a really long-term process. We haven't even presented the final deliverables to DOT, so Bill will get to go to a meeting with DOT with us. We'll probably bring the consultant. And then I think there have to be a lot of decisions and conversations with Connecticut DOT and the town of Fairfield.
They did look at 6 alternatives, and we did narrow it down to 2.
Yeah,
Like Megan
thank you.
said, is that there's one that was overwhelming support, but in the old adage of maybe too expensive or too new of an idea, it's a peanut roundabout. Where basically it's a double roundabout that kind of looks like a peanut.
Great, yep.
And so if that's too much, the state, we saw the standby of state, which they kind of did for the other circle, where you do a couple of signals on the approaches, some signals on the approach. The one by Staples,
Right.
Used to be
West
West
Road,
Lane or whatever, yeah.
Okay, got it,
So,
yep.
something like that. So at least we've had, both studies, it was presented to the public for input, and we, like you said, we're almost ready to make the recommendations once the whole thing's put together.
Let's go peanuts.
I know, the peanut rules, I hope it wins.
They were gonna go out there, we'll bring up either Reese's peanut butter cups or jars of peanut butter, or a bag of peanuts, kind of give them a hint, subliminal message.
So peanut.
But again, that's when the town, the chief elected officials, possibly the state delegation, they would begin to get involved in that, to kind of do their best to ensure that, it's something that town residents can access.
So is it a guarantee that there will be a change, no?
No, there's no funding
It
attached
can be
to
voted
it.
down.
It could be voted down by the DOT,
Yeah.
it could be sent back saying, well, we want further information, or, no, it's at this stage of the game that the state is not ready for, a peanut roundabout, or who knows what they'll say, but, they seem to be a little bit more favorable to new ideas, new technologies, because you're seeing it in other parts of the country. And so, if it's worked in Indiana and if it's worked in Massachusetts or something, then there's more of a chance that they'll approve it.
That's good.
The key thing I would say is maybe 5 years ago, there was maybe 2 roundabouts in the state.
Yeah.
And now there's 50 maybe,
Is that
or
right?
20,
Okay.
something like that.
Yeah.
So.
What's gonna happen, what stage are they at on the whole Black Rock Turnpike thing? So they were talking about roundabout, but further down by like McDonald's, right?
So that's another aspect of planning studies that we try to emphasize. We always say that we want to see like some short-term recommendations. Bill and, another one of our staff members, he's a part-time engineer, they worked on an application to fund some of the more short-term recommendations for that. That's gonna be another conversation with DOT, unfortunately.
We just had a meeting on it, not even a week ago.
Yeah, we have to provide additional data. Unless like we spell it out to them, like.
There was a 600-page report, which we thought their engineers had read and reviewed. Oh, well, no, those engineers retired or moved on, it's a new set, and we made the assumption that it was read. So now basically they want us to go pick through and highlight all the, like we both have time for that, but we'll.
Yeah.
Give me an executive summary.
But if you don't mind, Megan, the key thing here is, it's really the collaboration where, obviously, engineering in the town does a lot with MetroCog. Since there's no county government, they're very important to kind of represent a county. So when we go for these national grants, they play a huge role in that. And when you mention the Black Rock Turnpike, or even the Post Road study, the Black Rock one, if we were to do everything, is over a $30 million project. The Post Road Circle is probably in the $10 to $20 million range. When we have to go to town boards, when we go for applying for these competitive grants, it's always nice to say, we have the support of town officials, neighborhood associations, the Fairfield Bike Ped Committee. So that's where, even though it might not be you might not look at it as a big help, we definitely use this committee and neighborhood groups and health department and any other town departments to help gain support. When it comes down to a tough competition, and now we're even starting, because they're really pushing on regional, we're trying to even get support from nearby towns, Westport or Bridgeport, and whether it be for flood protection or these type of projects. And if we get the support of them, and then there's another town that maybe they grade them, and this is an 86, this is an 86. Well, there's only one left. That could make a difference. This application has the support of 18 different groups. This one has the support of 2 groups. And we have gotten some grants in the past where maybe 3 out of 10, and we were one of the 3 that got it. And so I think it has something to do with it, that we get the support. So, and obviously, if you don't support it, that's we don't want this to be a puppet, committee by any means. But that's a way where, believe it or not, all three components and actually other town departments as well can solidify an application or a study or whatever we're going for, so.
And whatever is agreed upon, if no one mind me asking, how is it determined how much is paid for by the town, state, and the feds?
I
How does that-
was just about
Yeah.
to branch
So
into
go right
that.
into that, sure.
Fairfield's really proactive with them trying to improve safety on state roads, so sometimes that means, you know, I wouldn't, so for example, with Black Rock Turnpike, that would come out of, the town would pay for design, and then that would come out from like a regional allocation of state capital, transportation, infrastructure funds that we're responsible for administering. I think that that's fine for short-term or for lower cost projects, because it's really not that much money for 6 towns even. It's between $6 and $7 million a year. That goes quickly, but I think, you know, Fairfield and all of our other towns have, you know, used it really well. When we get into like those big projects, like say, you know, going beyond the easy project on Route 58, and it's not gonna be easy. But compared to some of the other recommendations, it's gonna be easy.
But for the Lotsip one, we did use the Grassmere Post. That was about
Yep.
a $2 million project, and we used that, and we had tremendous help from MetroCog in filling out the application, getting some of the backup material. And so we work extremely well together, and we rely on each other for resources, and it's a wonderful cooperation that we have. And then from that, we're hoping that doing that study, Bridgeport is doing one, that maybe we get, we'll go for the whole ball of wax, maybe with the Post Road Circle, but if not, there's 2 other legs that can be split up. So we actually have the design where it can be phased. So then we can if they want us to take baby steps, we'll take baby steps. If they want to, we're all out the red carpet and we go for it all, we'll go for it all, so.
And I think when, you know, getting back to that payment question, I think for something like the magnitude of, you know, the majority of improvements on Black Rock Turnpike and the actual circle, that's the best fit for that is federal funding, because it's a complex project. The town's going to be having to, you know, spend a lot of time on it anyways. And I don't, my humble personal opinion, I don't think the town should pay anything, but that's just me.
There could be on some of these grants, 20 or 50% cost share even. And so if we do if we get $10 million, that means the town could still pay anywhere from $2 to $5 million. And if it's a tough budget year, then that's where, you know, then we got to convince the Board of Finance, RTM, Board of Selectmen, where again, that's where neighborhood groups, Bike and Ped Committee, all the people that sign the petitions, hopefully they all show up and they see. So all these different ideas and partnerships, I guess, would be the best word for it.
And you know, these aren't local roads, you know, like Post Road Circle, that's like regional and state. Lots of people use that. So that, you know, that's one, I think you know, it's really justified for, you know, the state and federal that, you know, funding comes in, so.
So we just have about 4 minutes left.
Sorry.
So, no, this has been great. I want to make sure that anybody who has questions gets to ask questions, and I also, you know, if you could speak, you've done an awesome job talking to us, like, generally about what you all do and some specific projects, but what was I going to say? I'm wondering, like, how can our committee, other than, like, writing letters of support or disagreeing, like, how can we, with pedestrian and cycling-related concerns or goals, work in collaboration with you? Do we go only through town engineering, or how do we fit in this with you guys?
It's best to go through town engineering.
Okay.
And then we work with you. 2 big things that are coming up, or one definite big thing is the Metropolitan Transportation Plan. That, again, that's a federal requirement. It's a 20-year planning horizon. And we should really, you know, put as many projects, or it has to be fiscally constrained too. But it's important that, you know, high priority projects of the town get included in there.
Mhm.
So recommendations, made to the town from this committee,
Mhm.
that would be very helpful. Public engagement is gonna be a big component of it. And I'll make sure that, Sarah and Bill receive, information from me about that. Hopefully we can kick some of it off this summer. So, of course, the more opinions and ideas and response we get, to what towns see as a priority in your area, the better. And then the recently announced Safe Streets and Roads for All federal grant. And we think that some additional planning work may be involved. We still have to verify that, but if that's the case, we're gonna do our best to get a plan done as soon as possible.
If you don't mind, I was gonna say maybe to expand on the SS4S or 4A, whatever it's called there. And then, the other one, I'd be remiss to say that Bike and Ped Committee, the town and MetroCog work together to give Fairfield their complete streets. And master plan.
Yeah, that's
Bike and pedestrian master plan, so.
Yep.
Which is in need of an update, because it's almost 10 years old, but we'll talk about that another time.
And we can definitely assist with that, but, so Safe Streets and Roads for All is the coming out of the IIJA, the federal infrastructure bill, and that is, an emphasis on Vision Zero and, the safe systems approach to transportation planning and, transportation projects. So, the guidance has just come out this week, and, there's a possibility that, an action plan is going to be a requirement, and it has to check all these boxes. So we're still looking at that, and then there's also the project stream of funding, but, an action plan may be a requirement for that funding.
Do you know if road safety, I was gonna ask on the Zoom,
It doesn't look like it, but.
Road safety, or it's not an action plan?
So because like any federal document they give you, saying, oh, what page does it mention this on, what page does it mention that on? And it doesn't look like, it looks like those are too localized, but our executive director reached out to the contact person at Federal Highways to find out exactly, what this requirement is.
Because it's frustrating for me is when they've announced a lot of these grants, and it's not just the transportation one, but even other ones. And then, they get everybody excited, and then you find out that half of these are already spoken for, in all seriousness. And it's because how on earth, I don't even know I've never even heard of a safety action plan. And yet, New York City, with Anchorage and Harrisburg already have them. And so what do you know, when this thing gets released, they're first in line, it's like, how do they know, so, again, politics or whatever, I don't care what side.
Anchorage, New York.
Yeah, you guarantee you'll hear that all, but why would you pick a action safety plan and where to come from, and yet, here they are, they already have them completed. But with that, though, the state was able to get their hands on them, so now we know what to look for.
Yeah,
and then at least give us a guide to get one in quick.
That
was
AAA though, that gentleman was from AAA who recommended those plans.
But it's now part of the required.
Oh, no, I mean, who sent us examples of those plans.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was AAA.
No, it's AAA, he thought that those could be good examples.
Yeah.
I want to see something from, Federal Highway saying, this is what you have to do in your plan, this is what you have to put in it, because then, we'll follow directions.
And did I hear you correctly in that there's a $5 million minimum to even apply?
That's for construction grants.
For construction?
Yes, that's for, design.
And they're really looking at regional, right? Or
No.
Not necessarily? Okay.
Not necessarily. If it has a significant, regional impact with, improving safety for all road users and equity considerations, and I think there are a few others. I think that yeah, there could be a case for that, but if there's a high, I just saw the phrase today, like a high-intensity network, so, an area where there's a significant number of crashes and, that have pretty horrible consequences. So if there was a project like that, even if it was an intersection, that could be a really good fit.
Because otherwise, the ones I was thinking of, if anything, would be obviously ones that border other towns, like something near Sacred Heart where you could throw in Bridgeport and Trumbull. And
We're gonna have to take this offline, okay, because we're running out of time, and I want to make sure if any committee members have any questions for Megan, that they get to ask them before we move along, or, and if you don't have any questions, then, we can take, questions from the public, if anybody else has a question. Any committee members have a question? No? John, do you have a question?
Yeah, I was just curious for these sort of, grants and stuff, what seems to be the general, appetite for, road diet projects, especially in, places where there is or could be a lot of pedestrian traffic, say, Fairfield Center, or, different, village center areas?
So, we're working with Fairfield on trying to convince a road diet on a segment of Route 1. Kings Highway, right? Is that right, Bill?
Oh, yeah, Kings Highway
Yeah.
is one of them, and then actually even Route 130, Post Road.
Yeah, so I think the appetite's getting there. The case that has to be made is that, the number of vehicles going through that, that it can still have that capacity, but with the road diet, it can slow traffic, safer crossing for pedestrians, and just so you're aware, because you're from Black Rock, right?
Yes.
Okay, we received funding, or we're working on getting our funding from DOT on a Route 130 corridor study for there too.
Yeah, I'm aware of that corridor study, but,
Okay.
Yeah.
So hopefully that can kind of link up with, what Bill's doing in Fairfield. We can find a way so that it's a nice transition.
Yeah, and I think one thing, has there been progress on pairing road diets with, more investment in, public transit, so that there doesn't need to be as much volume for cars?
That's a tough question, because, Greater Bridgeport Transit is pretty robust, in the areas that have low, that really need it. So, again, we have a really good relationship and work well with them. I'm not sure if they're talking about, expanding to, additional routes. I know that.
If I can answer,
Yeah.
again, with that Post Road, the Post Road in Grassmere, which is just, where the old Ash Creek Saloon used to be.
Yeah, that's right.
Right there, the layout that we're trying to do is a road diet, where it's, one lane in each direction, and then they call it the double left, some people call it the suicide, the double turning lane. But we're also trying to create enough path, on the side for a 4 or 5 foot bike lane. And then we also are trying to tie in the transit stops. So to answer that, in cases where the road's wide enough, and we do the road diet, there are mechanisms for that, and that's what we've been looking at. In another area, which I have to follow up on, the state was supposed to do a road diet near the Sasko Hill area. We had a public meeting on it during the height of the COVID, and I haven't seen anything happen there. But that one's a little bit tighter, and I don't know if there's any component to that. So it really is gonna depend on road width, and then, like the case of the Black Rock, whether you have a median, that's gonna take up some of the room. So you have to, it's always a balance when it comes to that kind of stuff.
I'm gonna have to cut everybody off, I'm sorry. But if, happy to have you all take this offline and continue the conversation. But Megan, I wanted to thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Anytime, expect an email from me. I'll stick around for a little bit longer. And,
Yeah.
yes, thank you.
Thank you so much,
for
really,
having me.
really informative.
This was good. And,
Yeah.
just real quick, everybody is impressed whenever I mention the survey results on these clinic studies that I get from Fairfield. We presented on one of the studies once, And I said we had over 1,000 responses, and all the other planners cared about how we got all those responses.
Awesome.
They cared about the study of it, but not them.
Yep, people in Fairfield, we care about our town and have a lot of opinions.
That's good.
Yeah. Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to the Town of Fairfield updates. Mary Hogue did text me. She's on the line, so we will get to her when it's her turn. But we're going to start, and I'm going to try to be a stickler for time now. We're a little over. So, Santina, I'm going to give you 5 minutes if you want to do a brief update.
Everything's status quo, so nothing really going on. I do have to connect with you about the funding, but other than that, we haven't spent any more money.
Okay.
Bike's still there.
Great.
Now, I don't know if you were here last month,
I wasn't.
with Mary, you brought up South Pine Creek as
Yeah.
a potential.
Mm-hmm.
I have to admit, I have not gone out there, but I know that area.
Yeah.
But that was another area where you have sidewalk that kind of takes you to Pine Creek Beach. You have the other that takes you up towards Oldfield, but there's a missing section.
Okay.
So I would certainly think that would qualify.
Mm-hmm.
So whether we have enough to do that and the one by Birdcroft, or we look at another idea,
Mm-hmm.
that's what we were discussing with. So that's on our to-do list, is to try to take a couple of locations, and then I would try to get an estimate about how much it would be.
That'd be great, and then I can send it to the state and see which idea they like
Right.
the most.
And again, the goal is to get it
Yeah.
way before the due date, so.
I think that'd be great, it's heavily populated, people walking.
Mm.
The sidewalk goes, and all of a sudden stops, and it picks up again, so it's,
So weird. Yeah.
So I'll connect with you.
Mm. And offhand, do you know, is there a sidewalk on the other side of the street, or there isn't?
there is.
So that's why I personally think that one would lead over to Birdcroft, because Birdcroft at least has a sidewalk on the other side.
Yeah, so this
This
is
one
not-
doesn't have, so
No
there's a
option,
section.
no alternative.
No option.
No,
Yeah.
there's not,
Yeah.
there's actually none on that.
Yeah, that's what I mean,
sidewalk,
so we have a 300 or 500-foot section with no sidewalk
Mhm.
in a very busy
It
area.
is,
And so thank you for bringing, I mean, I knew of that, but then you forget
that'd be
sometimes.
great, thanks.
And we're definitely gonna take a serious look at that, so thank you.
And Sarah, I think I told you, we got an additional $7,000 for next
Yes,
year.
you did do that,
For
yeah.
the Greenfield Hill. So I was
Yeah.
on the,
The bike route, right?
The bike route, that's
I was on the
exciting.
commission meeting, and so I hope to be there in July with
Yes.
you guys.
Yeah, I'll update
And
folks.
that money is for signage or paints on the street, or both?
Both.
Both, good.
Yep.
Great. Thanks, Santina.
Mhm.
All right. Bill, before we let you do your thing for 5 minutes, I'm just going to say, Evan Caseman, who is our point of contact for the police, is not able to attend tonight. I did, upon Steve's suggestion, reach out to Hector Irizarry, who is our contact with the traffic unit. They are understaffed right now, by something like 50%. He said that they are hoping to fill that gap in the summer once they enter a new fiscal year. They also have a conflict because they have a 1-year grant that has mandatory meetings for the grant on Thursday nights when we have our meetings. So I'm hopeful this fall, when they straighten that out with their staffing deficits, and they're through this grant cycle, that we can push to have someone come regularly, because I agree that we need, because of the police commission and their traffic authority, we need them to have a regular presence at this meeting. So we're working on it, and hopefully in a few months that's what's going to happen. So, Bill, without further ado, if you could briefly update us, you've got 5 minutes.
I'm even gonna take less than that.
Awesome.
Here we go. The Stratfield Road, Route 59 road safety audit is about 95% complete.
Mhm.
We made a major push the last 2 weeks on that. Kristen McCarthy-Vey, state representative, had asked at least to do a preliminary cost estimate and to let her know she's going to try to seek some either grant money or bonding money for those improvements listed. And that's where, again, I may request some help. Although we did bring it up in the meeting, we didn't actually walk it, but I think from surveys from Stratfield Village Association and even discussions here, but we just have to kind of put it in writing, the plan, the intersection of Wilson Street and Churchill and Fairfield Woods, which Bill Pollock, a former member of the Bike and Ped Committee, had done at least a good preliminary plan for us. So we're going to include that into the road safety audit, And if we were able to get some sort of grant money, we would put that in as well.
Where would the money go? What was the
That would be for road, basically a lot of pedestrian safety improvements. At a signalized intersection of Cornell Road, there's one of the approaches that's going to have the pedestrian lights.
Yep.
There's a couple of sections by the Lady Assumption Church where tree roots and some of the sidewalks that were constructed maybe in the 60s or have seen better days. So we'd rip them out and put in new. There were a couple of sections by the Unclewood School that were only maybe 4-foot asphalt, and we would make them at least 5 or 6 foot wide of concrete if possible.
Okay.
And so things like that are included, some signage. The state kind of has a pseudo bike route there, but there's no signs. So whether we would apply for some signs on that, it would all be part of recommendations of short, midterm, and long-term improvements.
There's also, if you're familiar with Stratfield Road at the Unclewood School in Churchill, that's the primary crossing for children going to the Stratfield Elementary School. Upwards of 100 children and their parents cross there each day. They have to have 2 crossing guards at that crosswalk because it's so dangerous. Because the speed limit there is 35 miles per hour. It's too fast for the context. So they're proposing in this audit report redoing that intersection to tighten it, and it's also been recommended to explore pedestrian refuge island because it's a long crossing and you have the most vulnerable population of users using it every single day. You have kindergartners and babies in strollers.
Not just Unclewood School, many people go to Stratfield.
It's primarily people walking to Stratfield School, not to Unclewood School. Most of them are driven from out of town.
Any effort to try to reduce that speed limit?
I asked Mega to put in the report that I want the state to justify 35.
So Mill Plain Road is kind of a similar vertical road.
This is a state highway, though.
Is that it? Okay, because that's 30 miles an hour Mill Plain Road.
But to your point, Scott, when you go on Route 59, when you're on the Bridgeport section, which is called Brooklawn, it's 25 miles per hour. You cross the line into Fairfield, it jumps to 35.
But it's still Route 59.
It's still Route 59.
Doesn't make any sense.
You turn the corner from Unclewood School, drive it next time you're there, in that area. You turn the corner from Unclewood School, it goes down to 30. All in the span of 2 miles. And you're talking about a densely populated residential street. Whether it's a state road or not, the context is completely inappropriate for 35 miles per hour. So, because...
Which means 50.
I just wanted to say, when I say just for clarification, not that that's an excuse, it's just that because it's a state highway, they have jurisdiction, they maintain the road, they set the rules. That doesn't mean we can't write letters, get public politicians involved, or all that kind of stuff.
Because that's too fast for people walking around, and speed and safety are incompatible goals. They have to pick which they value and prioritize more. And I know what I value and prioritize more. And it's not just because my kid's crossing that street, it's because everybody is. Quickly, we want to pass this around while Bill still has just about a minute. This is the intersection he mentioned adding to that, the Churchill, Fairfield Woods, Wilson, that our friend Bill Pollock, who used to be on the committee,
Well, you're looking at the SAFE, the SS4A grant, and that's what we were just talking about with Megan. So I was going to tell you that, again, we're working with the region. What she didn't say is that she is coming, we had a regional meeting, but then she's going to each individual municipality to look at priorities and see if we can work with either a regional or a town grant for that program.
I'm lost. Where's 59 on here?
Oh, that's just, no,
Yep, so it's off the page. Oh, if you kept going down here, 59 would be here.
Oh, I'm the other way around.
If you kept going this way, you get to my house.
Got it, okay.
So we just have one more minute. Does anyone have any questions or comments for Bill before we turn it over to Mary?
Oh, the other thing I just wanted to have here is asphalt art program.
Oh, yeah.
And we're working on some sections. If you happen to know either a very wide intersection or an intersection in a neighborhood that just has too much asphalt, where maybe we could either get a neighborhood group or we could do some painting of the shoulder area, kind of give it a different type of traffic calming. please let me know. I have already a couple of intersections, and Mega said that you had
Yep.
another one.
What do you mean by too much asphalt?
I'm trying to think of.
I mean, like-
Lean on the shoulder too much?
Yeah, or a lot of intersections have very wide radiuses. And so and even if you put a white line, it's almost like you have 8 feet of extra pavement.
Got it.
Well, there's a couple things you could do. One, you could possibly put new curbing in, but depending on where it is, it could get very expensive. If there's concrete underneath, if it's a state highway, it's a little bit of an issue. But if we paint the area, we were looking at doing a pilot program, it just gives the illusion of, slow down, or awareness, I should say, of slowing down. And especially if it's an area near a school or a neighborhood with a lot of kids, you're driving by, all you see is yellow, double yellow line, white line, then all of a sudden you see multicolors or whatever. You almost like the kids with the sidewalk chalk,
Creating a curb with more grass and ground wouldn't be.
Well, but that's another option. This would be just a quick fix of painting the pavement so that you don't have to hear the snowplow issues or, the radius for a fire truck, can't make it.
Okay.
So in these wide intersections, the one that I think, Brookline Parkway at Valley Road was one. There's one maybe near Pansy Road or the Stilson area, there's one. And, we have a couple of others in mind, so.
Right.
I have a quick question. So I didn't see on the key, but maybe I missed it. Does that have signal crosswalks too?
No,
No.
no.
So I'm finding that around a lot, so just painting a white line, I don't think is sufficient. Is there a reason why we don't have better signal crosswalks in the town overall?
Well, signalized crosswalks have to meet state and federal warrants. At a stop sign, usually cars should stop at a stop sign, and so at that intersection, I believe it's a 4-way stop, although it's skewed. By doing what is proposed there with the tighter radiuses, that will slow down. So even if you quote roll through a stop, you could probably only do that at like 10 or 15 miles per hour as opposed to 30 miles per
Yeah, but
hour.
there's always right turn on, and I'm asking because like the side streets downtown, like where Wayne Street.
Oh, okay, that's a little bit different.
They
Those
don't
are
have-
signalized, yep.
No, the only signal's going across Post Road, not
That's
going
right,
across the
yep.
side. And so even though there's crosswalks, people just roll through them, and it's just bizarre that they don't have signalized crosswalks. They think, a white line just is.
About 20 years ago, the state policy was they were concerned with the highest volume, which is obviously all the state roads. They didn't care about the side streets, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
They're finally showing signs of making that improvement. And again, when you were asking one time, Sarah, about how this, committee could get involved, just a heads up, it hasn't happened yet, but we'll also include it in the road safety. I found an email that in the year 21 to 24, so we're right pretty much in the middle, the state has plans to upgrade and replace the Route 59 at Collingwood and Capitol Avenue signal. And when we did our road safety audit, we noticed, just like you said, there were no, pedestrians, signal heads going on the one side.
Even South Pine Creek and Post Road,
Yep.
that's a disaster to cross.
And then we noticed that there were no ADA ramps, that we noticed there were a lot of other issues, including wider pavement, on the one side of the intersection. So when that comes through, I'll be hopefully able to attend a design meeting and then either extend the invite or certainly give this group an update. And then as you can comment on anything, and then I can bring that back to them, or you can if they allow public comment.
Even like on Post Road, I think the signage there is at Post Road at Umpqua and Old Post. I think that's fairly new for the walk-on walks. But if you're heading east-west, not north-south, on either side, there's no walk-on walk.
Yeah, there's not,
It doesn't make any,
all the time, getting, even in front of the library, old field, old post, you can't have cross in front of the library.
There's very few.
People use the library.
I think we got them to put in when, about 5 or 6 years ago when they did Mill Plain.
Right.
To do all the approaches, and I think, the one at North Benson and South Benson.
Well, that's the reason I'm on this committee. That thing drove me so out of my mind because literally, the don't walks, you're coming this way, the signs were all put at a 45-degree angle, so you couldn't see them.
Mm.
You thought, oh, must have been a mistake. Every single one was cocked.
Wow.
Somebody went out of their way to make that dangerous. It was just lunacy.
All right, friends, well, we gotta wrap this up. So, any more comments, feel free to send to me in an email. We can share with Bill, because I mean, we could talk about this stuff all day. I have so many things in my head that I want to say, but I know we gotta move on. So, Mary, are you still on the line?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, hi. Everybody, this is Mary Hope from Sustainable Fairfield and the Forestry Committee. Mary, thank you so much for your patience. I know we're running a little behind. If you could give us a brief update within 5 minutes of what's going on with your group.
Yeah, sure. So we've been very busy planting trees, which along the roadside, which hopefully will help with calming the traffic. We planted about 200 trees for spring, and we are getting about 4 requests, which doesn't mean 4 trees. We get 1 to 4 tree requests per person. So it's very popular. It's getting more and more popular all the time, which is very exciting. So that's lots of people on the waiting list in the fall. It's the pollinator pathway is going gangbusters, and we sold 25 no-mow May signs. So you'll see lots of very tall grass in people's yards, and hopefully that will continue. We're hoping to work with getting more pocket parks in. We did 2, one new, one improved pocket park last year. So if you can tell us if you see any areas in town where there would be good pocket parks to be installed. The one new pocket park was on Burroughs Road, just off Black Rock, and then we did one, I can never remember where it is, but it's in the Stratfield area off of Stratfield Road, just in
Rockland and Wilson, right?
Rockland and Wilson, yeah. We had done that 2 years ago, and then we really upgraded it last year.
Mary, I hate to interrupt. Scott from our committee wants to know if you could quickly explain what a pocket park is to the group.
Well, it's a little park in the neighborhood. It's not very big. It's just a spot where you can kind of sit and congregate. It's not a big spacious area where you can go and throw a frisbee or play football, but just a space where, the local community can sit and enjoy nature. That's kind of what I think of it as.
Great, thank you.
I don't know if that's the official term for it. But the Trust for Public Land, I think, is the group that has a 10-minute walk to the park campaign. And I've been trying to get Brenda, and maybe you can help me with it, sign a pledge so that Fairfield would get on the map. I think only the major cities in Connecticut have signed it, but I'd love to try and get Brenda to meet with me to sign this pledge, and so that way we can get the initiative. The Fairfield Board of Realtors gets a grant pretty much every year for $5,000 to do these pocket parks, and we usually do it on, open space that hasn't really been paid much attention to, usually just for about $5,000, and with a little donations from, the town with some boulders and some mulch and some free, not free, but, donated work from the town crews to trim up the trees and so forth. We get a lot done. And then because Sustainable Fairfield worked with the town to get silver certification for the town, we can get crowdsourced funding to do, if we raise $7,500, they'll match it. And so we can get up to $1,500 in funding to get some really great pocket parks going. So I thought that might be something that we could work together to see if Brenda might sign that pledge, and that could get us some publicity, which would help with the funding.
Sure. Hold on. Just Steve had a question or comment about that.
Just one follow-up on that, too. How do you identify areas? Is it a recommendation from a resident saying, can you put a little bench here? How do you find...
we work with the Conservation Commission because they're usually open spaces.
Okay.
So we have to go before the Conservation Commission.
This would only be town-owned land that these appear on?
Yeah, they're public spaces, yes. They're town spaces.
So, but if a resident had a idea, could they pitch it and confirm whether or not it's public land so that it could be on the list?
Well, I mean, it would be used by the public, so it would have to be public land, yeah.
Yeah, so but if someone says, oh, I noticed there's this vacant lot on X street, is it possible to make it a pocket park? I don't know if it's public land or not. They could pose that question.
Are you talking about like the little bench, couple of benches, down opposite, Reef Shack, where 7-Eleven used to be, right off of,
Yeah, that was one of the yeah, that was one of the first ones that was done.
Great.
Could you tell us where those 200 trees are being put around town?
They're done. It's a private citizens call and ask to get them planted. It's $200 a tree, and it basically is a self-funding program. So the cost of the tree is what pays for the program. So it's individual citizens are calling and asking for a tree along the right-of-way.
And they're paying the $200?
Yes. And then they also are guaranteeing to water and mulch the trees throughout the life of the tree.
Okay.
I think the residents pay.
Yes.
We also have a commemorative tree program, and those trees are planted in open space areas, and then those trees are ostensibly donated to the town, and then the town waters and mulches the trees.
Well, thanks, Barry. Anything else quickly that you want to update the group on, or anybody else have any? We'll let Mary do a brief update and then see if anybody has any other questions.
There's one ask that I know my group would, Sustainable Fairfield, would be mad if I didn't say something. On Monday, there is an RTM meeting, and on the agenda is RLMS is on the agenda to change their grass field to a turf field, and our Sustainable Fairfield has a letter that, if you're interested, I can forward to Sarah, that you can see. We're very concerned about the cost financially as well as environmentally and health to the people who use the field of the turf, and we're asking the RTM to take a look at the references that we have in our letter to reconsider making the change to turf. And we have lots of resources listed in terms of why we want this reconsidered. So we're asking everyone to take a look at their references and write a letter to the RTM.
All right. Feel free to send that along, and then I think at this point, we'll share it with the committee members, and if committee members want to take it upon themselves to write a letter, that can be their choice.
Yeah. I just wanted a quick note. That's it.
Yeah, sure. So feel free to send that along. Well, thank you so much, Mary. Anybody else have any questions for Mary before we move along? No. All right. Thank you, Mary. Appreciate it. Okay, so we're going to move on to committee updates and new business. The Greenfield Hill Bike Route, as we mentioned, Nate could not be here this evening. I'll quickly update folks. We went before the police commission last Wednesday night, and they are seeking more information. Unfortunately, we're not sure what happened, but Karen, before she left the committee, she sent in the petition on our behalf for the bike route, and we thought supplied sufficient information, and somehow they did not get it all. They had a bunch of questions. They are generally supportive. Thank you so much, Santina, for getting a health department letter of support. We got a letter of support from Mark Barnhart with the Economic and Community Development Committee. We got some letters of support from the public. Bill has expressed his support. And so they've asked us to return before them on Wednesday, July 8th. With more information, and Nate is working on answering the questions they have, providing them with a complete list of the bike route streets and photography and some other information they asked for. So Wednesday, July 8th, I think they start at 4:30 if anyone would like to come.
And I think it's July 6th.
July 6th? Oh, I'm sorry, did I say the 8th? Thank you, Santina. Yeah, I could have that wrong. Yeah, you're right, July 6th, thank you. So we're continuing to progress over with the Greenfield Hill Bike Route. Up next, number 2, the Boy Scout Bike Rodeo Postmortem. Mike Allen could not be here, but I think everybody who's here was from the committee took part that day. So we'll just do a brief postmortem. What'd you guys think? How was the event? What do you think worked well? What could we do better?
We had a nice weather day, that helped a lot. Let's start with that.
Well, that's what I ordered from Mother Nature, so.
Good job on that.
She came through. Any other thoughts about the day in general, things we could have done better?
Participation was pretty good. I was expecting less. The only, my somewhat comment would be that they should have set up the cones closer to the action and not all the way down the back end of the parking lot. The people that went down there kind of got lost down there, or maybe didn't have the help they needed, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
There's no reason why they couldn't put it right up next to the tent there.
Yeah.
Tents and stuff, in my opinion.
How many people were there?
They think upwards of like 120 kids and their families. They guessed, between 100 and 150 kids plus their parents. So I think it was a great turnout. We could have asked for better weather, and it was an outdoor event, so people felt very comfortable coming.
Okay.
Yeah, and we had the library participated, which was awesome, and the Boy Scouts were there. Yale New Haven Health was there. We were there. We gave out a lot of the tags.
Good.
So.
We got plenty more.
Good, because we'll need them for future events.
We'll drop them by drone.
So, yeah.
I have to just say about one of those little, I took it home, and my mom was in a senior housing, and she has a really good friend who's in a scooter. She's a polio survivor. We put one on the back of a little scooter, and then when they go, because they go down the sidewalk, sometimes they go to church or bingo, whatever the elderly people, the functions they go to. But she has to ride the sidewalk, of course, because she's in a scooter. But we took a little thing on her, and
Great.
So,
that's awesome.
Representing at the senior center in East Haven.
Oh, that's great. So we'll do a more in-depth postmortem since Mike was spearheading that event when he returns, hopefully in June. But while we're on the education and events working group, Steve, did you or Mike follow up with Jackie with regards to that safety tips initiative in the tax bill? Did you see my email?
You want to put, I think the issue with that is that it needs to be one page and not multiple pages.
You could do two-sided.
Or two-sided.
Yeah.
Yeah, but one page, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I Scott, the way that he designed it, there's actually a summary that can be condensed down to one page, which is what I provided to Sustainable Fairfield for their health and wellness fair at the YMCA. So I think
So is it already done? Is that what you're saying?
It's basically already done. It probably needs like some, zhuzhing with like maybe some graphics, but yeah. Where I left off the conversation with Jackie is if we get the funding, which it's potentially we could through a health department grant or look at other sources, can we put it in the tax bill at some point like Sustainable Fairfield did with their recycling information last year?
Weston did that.
Yeah.
Recently, but isn't the tax bill going out like ASAP? Doesn't it go out in May?
It's going to be too late for now.
June. Okay.
But if we could, so that's why let's start having the conversation now for 2023.
Got it.
So if you wouldn't mind, Steve, would you mind? I think I forwarded you the whole conversation thread. If you and Mike could, as the events and education folks, pursue that. See if she was working on it. And she didn't get back to me. She said, I'm looking into this. I'll get back to you.
She being?
Jackie, in Brenda's office. Thank you. All right. Relationships and policy working group update. Mary and Tom, any updates for us?
One of the questions, did you get a sense, since you were there earlier, and you were there the whole lot, obviously, but any of RTM people showed up at the, I know they don't wear badges.
Yeah.
I wish they did. When they're running for office, they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that funny? But but, you know,
Not-
I was looking around for some of the people that I know that
Yeah.
are, you know, I didn't see anybody.
Not that I recognize. I don't know a lot of them by face.
Right, me neither, I mean, there's 40-something of them.
But what I would like to do, as election season comes up, I would like our group to be asking questions of these candidates pertaining to our mission and our charge, to see what their responses are. Now, whether that's having them come before us, or if it's
Send them a questionnaire.
send them a questionnaire, yeah, for sure, so that we know where they stand, and we can share that publicly.
Do other committees have those types of initiatives with politicians to be?
I don't know in this
Yeah.
town. I actually, that was a suggestion I got from someone in New Haven. That's
Mhm.
something they do with their bike and pedestrian efforts.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, hey, that's a pretty good idea.
It creates awareness.
Yeah.
Great. They
Yeah.
need to have a platform, a perspective. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, so I think that's something that we for sure could do. Any other updates? Mary, have you had any success with Fairfield U, or?
I wrote to your, contact.
Yeah.
And did not hear back.
What was the contact name? Yeah, you know, you told me.
Professor,
Oh,
Quackenbush.
Sunil, and his last
You what?
his last name begins with a P, and I don't remember.
I don't, yeah.
It's very long.
Yeah.
And why him? Is he involved somehow?
He's on the faculty sustainability committee,
Okay.
and so we were looking for a way to talk to Fairfield University about.
I know somebody at Fairfield U is in marketing, if that's of interest.
Yeah, actually, I have somebody there too, in fact. What they were saying to me is, well, who do you think, you know, maybe, and then Mary reached out, so, and what my friend said was, we're about to, we're gearing up for
Yeah.
graduation, and then everybody's gonna hit the road and get out of here for a while, but then in the dead of summer, that's also a good time.
It's a good time, yeah.
Yeah.
Their calendars aren't full, so,
Mhm. So you've got somebody in marketing also, Tom?
yeah.
Okay.
So, actually, when you get that thing that, your thing distilled down that you were saying, to send to other people, that would be something great for us to be able to say, here's, in a nutshell, who we are, what we do, in addition to giving them the website and everything else.
That's something to share, yeah,
Yeah,
sure,
just like,
send that to you.
if someone's gonna walk down the hall to talk to somebody, they gotta have something in their hand, otherwise it's, what are you mumbling about,
Yeah, I think it's good though, once you get a person, just to tell them, how beneficial it is to have bike lanes for students to get into, really explain, other universities and cities.
Yeah, I mean, if you work in colleges and that thing we would listen to that, with New Britain.
Yeah.
I mean, every other comment was, well, and the Central Connecticut kids, we put bike lanes in for them here and there, blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
And you look around here, they're all just driving the Jeep, the $70,000 Jeep they're diving in. Because it's really, you don't see college kids on bikes, whipping down, Round Hill Road or something.
But I think if you had that, they
Yeah.
might.
Yeah,
They might.
might.
Put the bird scooters in Fairfield U, right?
Mhm.
Right? Or
Yeah.
Sacred Heart, put them
Yeah.
there.
It doesn't need a bike lane, I think they're huge, I mean, I've seen it.
Yeah, it's.
Absolutely.
But even if, I spent some time on going through all the Fairfield, U website stuff, and there's not a single word in anything that they have in there about biking or walking, especially when they say, oh, it's a great town to live in, and not a word about anything. Well, it's a great town.
Well, how about
biking, walking.
How about we carpet bomb? How about we try to reach as many folks as we can? So it sounds like, Scott, you have a contact you can share.
Who's your participant?
Katie
Could be the same person.
McGee.
Okay, mine's Deirdre Bennett, so I'm gonna write down
Yeah, Katie, Katie.
Hey, Sarah? This
Yes,
is
Mary.
Hogue. I have a couple of contacts. So Dave Frastinelli is the chair of the Sustainability Committee. He's on the admin side. There's a student group that actually we went to their sustainability fair. We had a table. It was pretty lame, honestly. It was fun hanging out with the kids, but it was actually beneficial. We found out that the humanist group, I forget what they're called, but they are actually the most active group, and I have their contact, and I can dig it up and send it to you. The sustainability student group actually turns out not to be the group that you want to work with. And we have David Downey had been on our committee and had been the main person on campus, but it turns out that if you want to get involved with the student side, they seem to be different than the admin side. So I can share all this with you offline, but I just wanted to let you know that we've gotten kind of involved with them as well as Sacred Heart. So we've done a lot of work on this on the Sustainable Fairfield front.
Oh, wonderful, Mary. Thank you so much. Yeah, if you wouldn't mind emailing me, and I'll share it with Mary and Tom so that they can get building that relationship with our committee as well. That would be great. Thank you so much.
So we have both universities, so I'll share that on both fronts.
That would be awesome. Thank you. All right, I'm going to move on to, thank you both so much. Public comments and, oh, wait. Did I send that out? Did I forget? Did I send you all the public comments for the last month? Oh, shoot. All right, we're going to table that to next month. I apologize. There weren't that many, but we're going to table that. So sorry. Steve made a great recommendation that we share public comments, that any public comments we receive over the course of the month, and then we can discuss for the month. And
How do we receive those on our website?
That we receive on our website or by our email or Instagram. And I pulled them all together and I forgot to send them to you, and I'm sorry. So we're going to talk about them next month. I don't know about you all, but it's been a busy few weeks. So we're going to move on to the committee name and charge revision discussion. Steve brought this up at the beginning of his time on the committee, and we've sort of been talking around it, but I did remember I know for a fact I did send these out. I took a little time and Steve took some time to suggest some revisions, and tonight I just want to have a discussion. I think we're at a starting point, looking at how and why we might revise our charter and potentially our name. This came up, the original charter as approved in 2014 does not mention the word safe or safety in it at all, and we think that we believe that that is a big component of what we're trying to do here. And so Steve has made some suggestions and I made some suggestions, so I'm just going to open the floor. Steve, you want to say a few words about what you put together here?
Yeah, I mean, I just looked at it, I tried to clean it up and have it flow better. It seemed like it was a little choppy to me. There's some outdated information there certainly about the setting of an initial committee. That's easy to take that out. And, kind of organize it a little better. I thought there was some redundancy in there. So I just sort of tried to clean it up and make it flow a little better. And I don't like the word charge. I don't even recall ever hearing that. So, I was hoping maybe there's a way to change that to goals or whatever we want to change it to, but unless that's a common term used in this town.
I think it might be, I'm not sure.
Okay, so
Santina's nodding her head. I think charge is what's used,
okay.
yeah.
Well, if it's a standardized thing, that's fine. I just don't think it's a very clear word, but, I think goals and things like that are much more important. So I don't think the other one didn't really say kind of what the goals are. That you will work on this, you will do this. But to me, the goal should be safety, sidewalks, roads. Those words need to be in there. And that's what I try to do. And believe me, you won't hurt my feelings if you want to do it as you wish or hack it up even more. But again, my goal is to kind of just make it flow better and be more logical. Still cover everything we want to cover, at least on an overview basis.
So, I'd love to hear other people's thoughts. Of course, the honesty is welcome as long as it's presented respectfully and courteously. So, on mine and Steve's, let us know what your thoughts are. Oh.
Actually, I printed out a copy.
Oh.
I know what it is.
So Steve,
Sarah didn't send it around.
Oh, I have copies. Need another copy?
Oh, okay.
So Steve's proposing changing our name to the Pedestrian and Bicycle Safety Committee, and he's also proposing revising our charge a little bit. And I am just proposing, I threw out I have a little bit of a marketing background, so I threw out some fun names. Not opposed to just keeping the name as it is, but if we were going to do a deep dive into changing our name, I threw out some suggestions.
Okay, yep.
And I also, my one revision was ensuring that recognition of safety in trying to save lives was in our charge, so.
Yeah, I see it.
What do folks think?
I think, I agree. Remember that you said that in January, February, where's safety and all this. I totally agree with that. Just working from the top and not going all the way down. I think simplicity is the best. I think bicycle, ampersand, pedestrian safety committee says everything you needed to say. I just think that things like Fairfield Committee for Safe Streets sounds like we are, the volunteer anti-crime neighborhood watch with the police department kind of thing. Because that says nothing about, bicycles and pedestrians, et cetera. And, whose streets, our streets, that almost sounds like a demonstration thing, So I just think bicycle and pedestrian safety committee, or the committee for safe bicycling and pedestrianship or whatever. So I think simple is better. I don't know, can we go in and say we want to change our charter?
We have to make a recommendation to Jennifer, and they will bring it up at a board, to put on the agenda of the board of select board meeting. And I think they would like it. I didn't actually. Did you send this to everybody at all? Not at all?
No, not yet. No.
Yeah, but I don't know if that's how they would want to look at it, the way I did it, or they just want to see. I mean, I think it's good to show what you're changing this.
Yeah, we do any contract or anything.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
I think you do both. Here's what we think it should say, and here's where that came from.
One thing too I put is head secretary in there. I mean, the committee does really not have a secretary. Is that correct?
It doesn't have a secretary right now because nobody wants to take on that role.
Probably.
And we had one last year, but he moved. He probably, if he were still, if he hadn't moved out of town and he were still on the committee,
that's why I put the word optional in there, because if you don't have it, you're not violating the charge type of thing. Whereas the other two you need to have.
Yeah.
They have to have. And that would be great to have, but like you said, I think that you're not going to see a lot of hand waving to take that job. It's just the reality of it. So.
Yep, that's fair. That's fair.
I like you both of you what you did. I'm looking at Steve yours right now. I like the concept of putting safety in the body of the charge or charter or goals. To your point, I'm surprised it wasn't there. And so I'm seeing you taking out some stuff. I looked at it before. I would think even just more mention of safety in the body. I don't see a lot of it. I see it a couple of times, but maybe just literally two.
Well, we went from 0 to something.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not sure yet about adding it to the committee name, only because I can think of other, words that might go in there that we might want to think has merit, like I'm thinking improvement or enhancement. Because that's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to enhance the value of walking and riding your bike around town.
Because in the red it says explore, suggest improvements, blah, 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 for bicycles, improvements, blah, 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 for pedestrians, but we don't say enhance, encourage riders.
Right, encouragement, enhancement,
and enhance the experience.
So I'm trying to figure out if we focus just that word safety on there, does it belittle what else we do? But I like the concept of adding safety measures to the body. I'm just not sure yet if we want to change the name with adding that word. Yeah.
So if I may, like when I write the grant and the report, I use a lot of words like safety, enhance, improve, change in the infrastructure, change in the culture, and things like that. So even incorporating some of those aspects, which is what we're doing, right? When we're putting in these bike routes and these walking paths, we're changing the built environment and the already infrastructure, and that's all coming from this committee. So thinking about what you guys are already doing to incorporate that. Because it's moved on from 10 years ago. It's evolved.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. No, I think as you said, Sarah, this is the beginning of the discussions. I think this is a great start. We can kind of each go back the next month and kind of look at this further. Maybe other people have comments as well. So thank you for initiating the change here. I think it's a good one.
Mary, do you have any initial thoughts?
Yeah, I was gonna say is, putting the words in enhance, but I think when you have more safety built in, it will encourage people to get out and walk and bike and different things.
Encourage the activity by enhancing the opportunity and the safety.
Exactly, right.
Could I suggest the committee members that, I really can't add anything at this point, honestly, but everybody come up with two things, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And as opposed to just saying, okay, we've opened the discussion, now we'll keep it on the table. I mean, if we don't, let's get it done, or, get it in some format that's reasonably done. And,
Yeah.
Scott, give your couple things, somebody says,
Couple bullets,
specific bullets, I think, it should say to encourage, blah, 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 and walking and biking and saving, whatever.
Yeah, so why don't we make it
And then we can, incorporate in the ones that we like, and, maybe redraft something for, I'll call it the first draft, at that point, but.
Yeah, let's, anybody who's interested, do, some bullet points for the June 23rd meeting, and we'll discuss it further, and perhaps at that point we'll have something we're ready to bring to the Board of Select People, for their consideration. That's fine. I wanted to wait, to throw in my 2 cents to the end. I feel like, I absolutely agree with your recommendations. My consideration of them is, they're already partly incorporated in the bike and pedestrian master plan, which is part of our charge. So I didn't know, do we need to, in addition to having them there, which is where we're supposed to be getting our directives from, do we need them also in our charge? Because I was looking through.
I can't answer that, but.
Yeah.
My feeling is that if you want to learn about something, you're not going to, I don't know how long the plan is itself, a number of pages, but.
Right here.
This is meant to be a summary. No,
Yes.
I'm just saying, the point is that's an extensive document, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So if I want to learn about what this committee does, I'd rather just see it on one page.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
That's great,
Yeah.
and the plan is referenced in here. I didn't change I didn't take anything out that wasn't in here. I just moved a lot of stuff around.
Sure.
And added a few things, so.
Well, what's the difference of a charge or a vision statement? I mean, are they kind of the same?
I don't know.
I think it's just the legal language.
Tina said that
charge with them.
if they want to use, if the town does that for all committees, then we should not change it. I just didn't happen to like the word.
Yeah, I've heard charge used for other committees too, so I think that's, I think that's probably, not a hill we want to die on to try to change that word, but the rest, I get what you're saying with the charge and having a summary. I'm sorry, Mary, did I cut you off?
I'm sorry, I was saying what I think was what we did, Steve, or with these bullets in, is that if it's gonna be a safety, now it's really just about safety, we're putting the word safety in the committee. And with that, you have the goals of it and how you're going to enhance safety, or how you're gonna get to those goals of making it safer.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just a committee for other things, it's a safety committee, the word is right in the title.
Great, all right, so, like I said, and I'll do my follow-up email if anybody wants to throw in, anything to these proposed revisions, please, have it ready for the next meeting, and if you could send it by email ahead of time, that would be great, so people have time to look at it before the meeting. And, great job, Steve, really appreciate you taking the time, to put some thought into that, and we'll continue, the discussion and take some action next month. So,
One thing I could do too is I'll take out I'll sort of have a final document, okay?
Okay, great.
We'll have this one, and we'll have
Red line and black line.
One for the lawyers,
We'll have,
one for marketing.
and then we'll have one that reads the way
Yeah.
it's gonna read, or,
Yeah.
final,
It's black line.
kind of final document, so it might be easier to follow, if it's laid out, without all these lines and
Sure.
moving stuff around.
And having never gone through this,
That's the sausage making, the thing will be this one.
there you go. And the sausage, going along with that theme, I've never been through this process, but I want to make sure that we all, have the expectation that the Board of Select people could come back and want to fry the sausage a little, or, and adjust it somewhat from what we propose. And so,
That's fine, too.
yeah.
Sure, certainly, that's their prerogative.
Yep. So that's,
They know we don't want to change anything if they don't want to.
yeah.
You don't like it, leave.
Great. All right, so we are rounding out here. Quickly, I'm going to go through my updates. So we have 2 committee vacancies. I did speak to Jennifer Carpenter about that. It looks like they should be filling at least 1, if not 2, by next week. They're going to review 2 applications. Similar to Steve and Tom, there's a backlog of people who've expressed interest in this committee, and we're looking at those, that most qualify and align. And hopefully they'll be considered next week, and will be able to join us in June. So once that meeting happens, I'll let everybody know the results. So we'll have more people here to work with us. So that is coming up.
News, that's good.
That's very exciting news. I am officially moving the meeting in June to Thursday, June 23rd. I have a conflict on the 16th, which I cannot get out of. It's for my son. And so I asked Jennifer what to do, and she said, if it works best for the committee, let's move it. And so we're going to move it to the June 23rd, and we have this room reserved. So everything's the same except the day. Wanted to let you know, when I started as chair, we had about 40 Instagram followers on an account that had not been updated in over 4 years. We now have over 345 Instagram followers, so we've gained 300 since September, and have, I try to post at least a couple of times a week, and engage with others. So we only have 129 followers on Facebook. We're more popular on Instagram. I don't think that's a bad thing. I also set up a link tree, if you're familiar with those, that is accessible through our Instagram. It's in the link. So in Instagram, you get one link below in your bio, but what you can do is set up a link tree so that when you click on that, it goes to a whole bunch of options, and that'll take you to our town webpage, our Where Is It Scary survey, our bike survey, information about the e-scooter program, and I think I have, the Safe Routes and Safe Roads for All. I put in information about that, but you can just, it's a free account. You can just add a whole bunch of links. So that's up. We have an e-newsletter. You all got it. That we started on MailChimp, just using their free system.
That goes to that audience? So go to...
Yes. And you can sign up on our newsletter through the link tree, too. And now we have...
Go to everybody who filled out Where It's Scary and
Yep.
all those things?
If they consented, yes.
Good.
And we actually have 1,400 contacts now. We started out with about 100. We now have 1,400 because Alyssa Israel was kind enough to share her old contact list from when she was involved with the committee, and she cleaned it up for us.
Great.
So I'm going to do a new issue in June. If anybody has any ideas for articles or information they'd like to put in that upcoming issue, please send me an email. Love to have you guys involved.
Does it make any sense to maybe borrow from other towns' articles? Right?
Possibly, yeah.
Because I've just created my own newsletter just this week, as a matter of fact.
Oh, yeah, for your work?
I'm borrowing from my company's blogs
Mm-hmm.
on the public website
Mm-hmm.
and just repurposing those on an email that I send out on my own to my audience.
Okay.
So basically, there's no new content by Scott.
Yeah.
Hence, maybe there's other content you can beg, borrow, and distribute.
Absolutely.
Time suck to do it on your own.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and by all means, if you see great articles in your, playing around on the internet or your work that you think that would be great for the public, yeah, please send them along and we'll put them in there. I reached out. I noticed that there's a bike and pedestrian advocacy group in Greenwich, Connecticut that's doing awesome things. And I found them through Instagram, and they seem to have a really great relationship with their public works department. And they highlighted, looks like a really cool project they did in their downtown to improve accessibility for people with physical disabilities. So I reached out to them, and I CC'd Mary and Tom on there because they're our relationships folks. And they did write back. They're excited to talk to us, and I've invited them to come to a meeting because I said that's the best and easiest way for us to get to know them. So we'll see if they want to come to a meeting. They, I think, are just like an ad hoc group. They're not a official town committee, but they're small and mighty and doing
Would it be of interest, Sarah, to that point, to have other town bike and ped committee chairpersons to come up from time to time to be our guest speakers?
Yes, Tanner Thompson from Norwalk was supposed to come in June, but I had to move the meeting, so I'm hoping to reschedule him for another time.
Benchmark what their do's and don'ts, or pros and cons, or successes and failures might be.
Yeah, okay. So I got to reach out to Tanner and reschedule him. Yeah, absolutely. And if there's others, I don't have a working relationship with a ton of them, but if you all know of other folks, please, I'm happy to reach out, or we can have Mary and Tom reach out and invite them to come. New members. Next week, on Tuesday, I think at 12 o'clock at the downtown train station, there's the e-scooter press conference. If anyone's around, you're welcome to come.
Say that again?
I'll forward you the email. An e-scooter press conference next Tuesday at the downtown railroad.
The bird scooter?
The bird scooters, yep.
Mark talked
Mark,
about last time.
I think it's at 12, but I'll resend the email.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm still participating in the Vision Zero Engineering Committee for the Connecticut Vision Zero Council, and our next meeting is next week, and that's a whole bunch of road safety nerds talking about what we can do about infrastructure to make it safer for people walking, biking, and driving. So they have an engineering subcommittee, an education subcommittee, an enforcement subcommittee, and another one, maybe emergency.
Evaluation, or
yeah.
The 5 E's. Yeah. Emergency or something.
They're open to the public if you're interested in trying to get involved in any of those. It's a great way to meet folks who are working on these issues statewide, or from other parts of the state or statewide, and very informative. And I'm hoping we can formally adopt a Vision Zero plan for our state at some point through this process. So, I think that's it. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Just one.
Yeah.
I think it's June 6th, the road race that we can volunteer for.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I lost the information because I do want to do it.
Oh, you do? Oh, thank you.
If anybody else is doing it.
It is Saturday, June 4th.
Oh, it's a Saturday.
It's a Saturday.
Oh, it's a Sunday, okay.
I think it's Saturday. It's the 5K.
10K?
Oh, yeah.
The 5K.
Oh, 5K. 5K lasts like.
Yeah, it's like
3 miles.
it's like 7:30 to 9:30 in the morning. It's like really easy.
No,
and
I'm fine doing it.
Oh, thank you, Steve. I actually can't do it because my husband and I are selling coffee that day at the Pop Shop Market at FTC, and we've got to be there at like 8 in the morning. Otherwise, I would absolutely be there. But I'll resend that because Alyssa was wondering if anybody wanted to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
She's the point of contact on that?
She is. I'll resend it. Cool. Yeah.
Just assign you to a spot or something? Is that how it works?
You hang out with her on a side street. Thanks, Phil. And pass out water. I guess it's like the easiest way to earn $50 ever. So, oh, thank you so much. Cool. All right. I will resend that to the group. Is there anyone on the line, a member of the public, who has any comments or wants to speak briefly? No? All right. Well, if there's any other new business anybody wants to bring up before we wrap this up. We all want to get out of here. I hear you.
I have one thing, but I'll save it till next week.
Save it till next time? Okay. Or send an email. All right. Could I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Okay.
Second.
All right. We'll let Tom take that second. All in favor of adjourning? Aye. All right. Meeting adjourned at 7:35. Next meeting is June 23rd. Please make notice. Thanks, Santina. Bye-bye.